Welcome, everyone, to the May 23rd, 2019 meeting of the Delaware County Board of Trustees. I'm going to ask Dr. Panchel, please, to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Doctor. I'm Barb Lewis, President. To my left is Commissioner Jeff Benton, our Vice President. To my right, fellow Commissioner Gary Merrill, and our Deputy Administrator, Don Newstead, and our clerk today, Sarah DeNovo. We can begin.
Resolution number 19-491, in the matter of approving the electronic record of the proceedings from regular meeting held May 20th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion vote.
Vote on motion 19-491. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
We have no public comment this morning. So next on our list is CPR Saves. Assistant Chief Eric Burgess.
All right. Welcome, everybody.
Morning, Commissioners. Eric Burgess, Assistant Chief EMS. As you know, from Monday, this is National EMS Week, and today we want to take an opportunity to do something a little different for nothing we've ever done this week before. So one of the things that we're very proud of in Delaware County is the cooperation, the system that we have in place as far as first responders go. Delaware County EMS teaches over 1,000 people CPR every year. As a matter of fact, our lead instructor's teaching John's maintenance guys CPR as we speak. So we're very pleased to have that in our county. And today, we're going to take an opportunity to do some pretty important recognitions for some good stuff that happened last year. We had 3 different incidents where a person was in cardiac arrest, and we were able to put the system together and save those folks. And we actually have a patient here with us today, a survivor, that we're going to recognize. But all of these folks you see behind us, we have, the way the system's supposed to go. We have our Delcom dispatchers take that call. They give CPR instructions over the phone so the bystanders can start that CPR process. Then our first responders show up and take things over from there. So when all goes well, things go how it's supposed to go. We have evidence of a survivor with Mr. Allen here today. So we're very pleased to have all of these responders with us today that have participated in 3 different saves that we had in 2018. Today specifically, we'll have Mr. Allen and his family come up with us, and Dr. Panchel is going to say a few words. But in this particular case, in October of last year, Mr. Allen went into cardiac arrest. His family is with us, his wife, his daughter, and his son-in-law are with us. They called 911 and then began CPR. Our dispatchers took that call. They coached them through CPR, the proper way to do CPR. And our responders from Delaware County Medic 4 and Radnor Township Fire Department arrived on the scene to continue that care. And we have how that turned out right here. So, we're very pleased with that. We had 2 other incidents in the county, and we've also got our gentleman from BST&G Fire District. There was another case at American Showa where a gentleman went into cardiac arrest. American Showa has a first responder team on site there. They were able... Yes. Oh, Showa's here. Okay, very good. So a gentleman from... couldn't see everybody back there. A gentleman from American Showa are here. They are also EMTs and firefighters in the county. They began that treatment, and then Medic 2 and BST&G showed up on that scene to take over that care, and that gentleman is also a survivor. He was not able to make it today, but so I think it's very important that we look at, we've got some of our sheriff's office deputies that also help us with that. They're often the first responders on the scene, and we're going to recognize them today as well for another situation that we had. And so all of these folks here are going to be recognized today. We're going to go across the hall, have some cupcakes and some punch, and everybody's going to get some certificates. And so we just want to, we thought EMS Week would be a very important time to bring this to your board and see how the system in Delaware County really works with the county as a whole. So,
Sure.
Dr. Panchel.
Happy EMS Week, guys. This is the best way to celebrate is with Save Lives. I cannot overstate the importance of what this is showing us. What we do know right now is cardiac arrest, survival from cardiac arrest is anywhere between 8 to 10% across the United States. With the bystander CPR, AED use, and the strong system that we're putting together, we can increase our survival by 2 to 3-fold. Measure and improve, that's the whole point. Measure and improve, and that's what our focus is. We are now part of Ohio Care, so we're actually measuring and improving, and this is the first step to showing and really understanding for ourselves what it really means, and being part of this family is great. So thank you, guys. Thanks for coming out.
Boy, thank you so much. Would you like to say anything?
Just I appreciate everybody that participated and helped me survive.
Wow.
My family at home.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Allen, you look great.
You look great. Yes, yes. Oh, my gosh. Thank you. Thank you so much,
Thank you for having
everybody. Oh, my goodness.
I thought you said 3 examples. I heard the show example, I heard Mr. Allen. Was there a third, or did I?
Yeah, there's another one that we can't necessarily bring to you today. There's some legal things going on with that one, so we'll talk about that one later on. Not legal things with us, so.
Yeah, good, good. Thank you very much for the presentation. Oh, my gosh, it's great. And our 911, hi, Carla. Yeah, yeah, back there, and it's certainly our sheriff's department, all the deputies too, and our EMS, gosh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Great work, great teamwork. It's good to see it.
Yes, yes,
Well, it's great to see all the different parts that makes this work in the same room here together. And frankly, I was not aware of the role that you play in SHOA. So I learned something today, and I thought I knew everything. But the point I'm trying to make is it's very heartwarming, very enlightening to see all of you who represent all the various segments here today. And it's very pleasing to see Mr. Allen and your
Yes.
being with us today.
Yes.
So God bless you, and
Yes.
thank you, everyone in the room.
Thank you.
thank you. Thanks for coming, everybody. Sure.
Go across the hall.
All right,
And have cupcakes.
yes.
You're going to save us one? You're going to save us one?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna make me left. That's great.
Mr. Panther does a nice job.
Yeah, yes, he does, yeah. Yeah.
I never met him until 2 weeks ago, whenever we.
Chief Balzer has something else on the agenda here. Okay.
Moving on. Next on our agenda, we have Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission with a presentation from Mr. Murdoch.
Welcome, William and Eileen.
Thank you, President Lewis and Commissioners. It's a pleasure to be here, and what a moving presentation just before us. We've done CPR training at our office before and haven't had the chance to use it yet, fortunately.
It's good.
But it's so great to see the impact it can have, and with all the first responders. Just what a great morning. So they deserve way more than cupcakes, right? So.
Yes, you're right. Yes.
For the record, I'm William Murdoch. I'm the Executive Director of the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission. You know us as MORPC, and wanted to come and give you an update on activities at MORPC. I want to thank Delaware County for their leadership. Certainly, Commissioner Merrill has been on our executive committee for a number of years and just recently stepped down, and Commissioner Benton has just recently stepped up into that role. We are so appreciative for the county as one of the largest communities in Central Ohio for not just participating, but for leading the way and pushing us to be a better organization. So that means quite a bit to us. But we'll go on into a presentation. So as you know, MORPC service area is most of Central Ohio, so about a 15-county area. We cover the gamut, as you know, from transportation to planning. We work with residential services, we're technical resource and data and mapping. government affairs, engagement, and so much more. The colors on that map are the communities like Delaware County that have opted to get more services from us as our members. There's a lot more color on the map than there had been in previous years. Our membership is approaching 70 communities. So your neighbors to the north with Knox and Morrow have just recently joined MORPC. So
How many, William, did you say?
we're at 68, but maybe at 70 here in the next couple months.
Okay.
So yeah,
Okay.
it's great. That's
Great.
up from over 30, from under, under 40, about 5 years ago. So
Yeah.
we've seen a lot of great participation, and for us, what that means is it means we can do more comprehensive thinking about Central Ohio. And certainly Delaware County is a balance between urban and suburban areas, but also rural areas, and we've had a number of rural counties join us, and so we're looking at what more service we can give to the rural areas of Central Ohio and what they're experiencing.
Thank you.
Just 2 days ago, we were in Sunbury. We host regional collaboration meetings. Commissioner Benton, thank you for coming and for hearing most of the same presentation twice in the same week. But Sunbury hosted us at their village hall, and we were so thrilled to have dozens of folks from all over this part of the region attend. And these are our bread and butter meetings where a lot of our public service folks will come and they'll talk about different projects they have going on. So appreciate hosting it there. As you know, we've been very engaged in government affairs. This is something where MORPC brings together townships, counties, urban, rural, cities, to advocate for things that the region needs together. We have an annual or a 2-year policy agenda that looks at the things we work on: transportation, sustainability, data and digital infrastructure. And it's been a very busy year, as you know, at the State House. We're very excited about HB 62, which was the transportation budget. We were able to accomplish some things in there that MORPC's members have been working on for a while, including expanding the permissive license fees to municipalities and townships if they need it. But there's also been an increase in funding for all of our communities around the state. And the additional funds that came out of that, we added it all up in Delaware County, is expected to be over $2.5 million. The county itself, I believe it's over $1 million, and the city of Delaware is over $750,000. And when you think of the increasing cost of transportation infrastructure, that's a big impact, especially in a county like Delaware that's growing and has a system to maintain and a system to build. We were really happy to help accomplish that. The state operating budget is happening right now, and so we've been engaging on your behalf, making sure that our transit dollars are protected. We're advocating for census dollars, which is really important for Delaware County too, because you're growing so quickly that you want to make sure that every person here is counted, not just for representation, but for state and federal funding. And we've also been advocating for rural transportation as well as local government funds. I know I've talked about Insight 2050 before. As a reminder, this is our public-private partnership looking at the growth in Central Ohio. As you've heard, we expect to add 500,000 to 1 million people. One of the things that we're looking at is how we can accommodate the need for housing and save money on infrastructure. And the concept we've been looking at is corridors. This is something where we're looking at aging commercial corridors and the possibility of doing development that's tied to transit. And so the first 5 corridors we looked at are on the map, mostly in Franklin County, kind of touches southern Delaware County around Polaris. We're going to be looking at other corridors throughout the region. And when we look at this, we're looking at where there's already infrastructure. You have the ability to leverage that infrastructure that's already in the ground, and maybe look at development that accommodates the market differently without affecting the single-family neighborhoods around it. So there's been a lot to this study already. We've got a tool now that can really look at that analysis, and so we're excited to move to the next step, which will be looking at other corridors around the region. As you know, we host some pretty large events. I appreciate you being at the 2019 State of the Region. We were able to honor communities for collaboration and great service. I think that's a picture of Commissioner Stolte from Union County getting a leadership award. We also had the former Secretary of Transportation for the U.S. There as well. And the soccer balls, we gave an award to the Save the Crew effort for collaboration. Our next major event is the Summit on Sustainability. When we say sustainability, we mean environmental and financial sustainability through the lens of local government. And we just announced that all-day event is October 11th. It's an all-day event that has a keynote, but it also has a number of sessions of local governments sharing what they're doing on things like water quality or trail development or the like. We've also helped organize local governments around ways to get recognized for the sustainable efforts that they're doing. And just started a program called Sustainable 2050 last year, where it's a menu of options, so communities can say what they're doing already, what they'd like to do. And as they hit a certain level, they get a road sign and they get recognition. But they also get direct measurement of how they're saving money, how they're saving on different environmental and energy metrics. Yes, the City of Delaware is about to be recognized, and Genoa Township has also achieved certification. One of the benefits of the program is what we call energy benchmarking, and we're working with our major utilities, AEP and Columbia Gas, and have built an online dashboard so our communities can have immediate access to all of their utility information by building and be able to measure costs as we go. Communities that aren't in AEP or Columbia Gas Service Territory, we can help too. We just need to do a little extra connecting to their energy provider. This is a free service we provide for communities. It's really impactful for smaller communities who may not have the resources to measure their utilities. Trails is a big thing we're engaged in. This is where transportation and sustainability come together. I know Delaware County has been very engaged in this and have communities super engaged in it. This is our regional trail vision, which aims to add 500 more miles to the regional trail system. We have a very enthusiastic group. At times, City of Delaware Preservation Parks are a big part of this. We're currently trying to find philanthropic ways to bring additional resources so we can build out the network in fewer years and get it up and running. A big announcement that just happened coming through Knox and Delaware County on off through Franklin and Madison is the Great American Rail Trail was announced, and this is really amazing. The National Rails to Trail Group has figured out an alignment that goes from Washington, D.C. through Central Ohio to Washington State. And it's about half built. In our region, it's mostly built. There's a little gap in Delaware County that is currently under review to be filled. So eventually you'll be able to ride your bike from DC to the Pacific Ocean if you wanted to do that. But it's a big boon for travel and tourism as well. Data is really important to our work with local governments. We bring our data users together, our GIS folks. We're working on census help for some communities. And we're working on developing a regional municipal fiber strategy. At the bottom, there's another bread and butter thing. We do a survey salary for all of our local governments so that whether you're a township or a county, you can really see what other folks are paying for their workers and their benefits as well. A couple of big things going on. We've been talking about a regional housing affordability strategy. And this is something that the City of Columbus and some of our major financial institutions in Central Ohio have asked MORPC to look at different strategies. And so when you're thinking of traditional affordable housing strategies or public housing strategies, this is not that. This is looking at private sector incentives, different way to leverage existing programs, working with communities on how they're working with the builders in that. We have a real crisis happening in Central Ohio. We're growing, and we're not adding the housing to support the growth. And when that happens, basic supply and demand, the cost of housing is going up very quickly. I know Delaware is seeing this. It's particularly hitting us at the moderate and low-income levels. So once we select a consultant, we're in the process of reaching out to communities. I know I've talked to Bob Lamb about other communities around Central Ohio participating in it, both for the regional view, but also for additional research that we could do. Like say Delaware County wanted to be more engaged, we could do some specific data and recommendations for Delaware County. So that is all happening here over the next month or two to get started. A big thing we're known for is transportation, and we are in the process of developing what's called our Metropolitan Transportation Plan, affectionately known as the MTP. This includes all of Delaware County and is setting the plans out to 2040 for our infrastructure needs. This is a plan that soon will be opening our online map so Delaware residents can literally draw the road they want or circle the intersection that's a problem, and so we can work on that. In Delaware County, I know we've got a couple of major projects that are moving forward. That's, we're helping with federal funds, the South Old State Road, resurfacing Africa Road, Red Bank Road, and of course, we're working closely with the county engineer and others on a number of projects around the county. We cover the transportation scene from working in rural areas north of the county to working on that MTP plan. One thing we do is we work with employers to help people find better ways to work, and we've got over 400 people in Delaware County who every day are using our services to get to and from work. Time to time we do special studies. A big one is just finishing with the Rickenbacker freight area in the region, and I think we've talked before that we've been able to work with downtown Columbus to have employers help provide free transit to all of their employees, which has been so successful. We're looking at ways with CODA to do this in other parts of Central Ohio. Commissioner Benton was part of the original vision for Competitive Advantage, and this is a program that looks at those infrastructure projects, not just roads, but water, sewer, fiber, and others that need money but already have community support and would help economic development. That map of dots and lines shows we have an interactive map of the different projects. Delaware's projects are listed there. We're actively working to try to find funding for that. One thing that we're doing that's really interesting is we have a request for proposal out where we're going to bring in a financial expert to help us really look at different ways to finance projects to maybe advance some of these quicker, look at private investment and other ways to bring that in. We haven't tried that before, but the idea is to look at maybe 4 or 5 projects around the region and bring in some really sharp financial minds from the investment industry to look at ways to do these quicker, because some of these projects, there's just not money to get there either through local governments or grants, and we want to get moving on it. So, economic development's been a bigger focus for us this year. We created an economic development and infrastructure officer whose job it is to work with 2020. We're working with the U.S. Economic Development Administration to create what's called an economic development district. That'll open up additional funds for us. We're working on competitive advantage. We've, a number of counties, including Delaware, have set up a transportation improvement district, and we're working more closely with the economic development community. So often in the past, the transportation infrastructure was not as well connected to the economic and business development interests until it was too late, until it was a problem. And so what we're trying to do is make sure we're pulling folks together early. And we also are in freight planning. We've got a great freight tool that we should email out, Arlene, if you want to look. You can actually see the travel times. If you're trying to get a package across Delaware County, you can map out in, I think, 15-minute segments what projected congestion is. We've talked before about Hyperloop, which is a high-speed connection between Chicago and Pittsburgh. The feasibility study is wrapping up later this summer, and that's a photo of, we've taken over 50 community leaders to walk through the technology at the test facility and actually talk to the engineers working on it. So the more we know about the technology, the more we get excited that we're doing the right thing planning for it. Couple last slides here. We do a lot of educational forums for communities, everything from drones to pets in communities to capital asset financing to HR strategies. We've got a couple more coming up. What we're calling the Grant Forum Invitational, which is a choose your own information education session. We work throughout the region on local government interns and things like social media. And I'll mention there at the bottom, MORPC's 50th birthday is this year, and it's a testament to regional collaboration that we're still helping communities and we're still growing, and so we're going to celebrate with a night at the Clippers in August. And I know that's a lot of information, but I appreciate your attention and, of course, your involvement and leadership, and happy to take any questions.
You had mentioned the Economic Development District in one of the slides. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, so this is a federal designation. In the transportation world, we're what's called a Metropolitan Planning Organization, or an MPO. In the economic development world, there's an Economic Development District. And in Ohio, for some reason, the only ones are in the rural southeastern parts of Ohio. And unlike most major metros in the country, Columbus is not one of those, the Columbus Metro. And so we are working with USEDA to see if we can do a multi-county economic development district. What that would do is open up some additional funding for infrastructure and workforce and other things. Ohio's major metro areas have not done this, but most others in the country have. And so we've been working with Columbus 2020 to help be the government partner for them. So nonprofits can't form it, only governmental entities like MORPC could form it. So that's something that we've been working on. It takes a number of years to get the designation, but we're seeing if we can do that. And then what our role would be is to be that supporting role for the economic development folks, Columbus 2020 and Jobs Ohio. So not to duplicate what they're doing, but to basically open up extra resources for them. So stay tuned on that one. It would definitely help Delaware County. So.
I have nothing. I'm obviously familiar with the material, and obviously great partnership, and of course we do have a couple interchanges we want.
It's on our list.
I'll throw that in.
Absolutely.
We are under infrastructured in that area, for lack of a better phrase.
Yeah, and quite honestly, that's been a priority for us. When you look at the interstate system in Ohio, Delaware County's proposed interchanges are the ones that are perhaps most in need. And with the growth, it's only going to be more necessary, so we're working on it.
Yes. I wanted to thank you for your help with the strategic plan, with data boards.
Yes.
That was very important, so that's great. And then, of course, your help with all of our transportation needs and many other things, as you cited. Question on the regional affordability housing strategy. That's something that I've been involved in here in the county, and we have what we're calling a housing conversation. United Way is moderating the discussion. Right. Are you involved with that at all? Do you know?
Not yet, but certainly we want to connect learn what we can with them.
Give you that, the dates. I know we have a couple more dates that we're meeting, but we really do have a cross-section of so many people representing so many different interests in the county, and so it's been very fruitful in coming up with some ideas. How do we accomplish this? And also been involved with affordable housing through our Stepping Up program, and a landlord, specifically there's a landlord mitigation group that has been meeting lately. So that's, again, geared to affordable housing and trying to help landlords who might be a little bit leery if someone still owes some money on and has some debt, but how can we convince the landlords to actually rent to people? So again, it's the affordability housing and we certainly do need that in the county.
Absolutely, Commissioner. So we'll connect on that. And our work, it's best to think of it as a value add. So on top of what you'd already be doing, these would be strategies that might help the private sector connect.
That'd be great.
I look forward to learning more about it.
Thank you.
Our economic development team is working on a housing strategic, Bob's looking at his phone right now, but
At Housing Strategies.
housing strategy, workforce housing strategy. He's pulling a team together of interested parties, and so we'd like to make sure he's included.
Jen is involved in this housing conversation, which is really good, so.
Yeah,
Bob
very
has
important.
reached out, and we've chatted a little bit about it. So
Okay.
yeah, so
Good.
yep.
Yeah. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for coming.
thanks for the update.
I think I forgot to introduce Eileen Newby, our membership coordinator,
Oh,
here too.
everybody knows
She's the
that.
power and detail behind what we do. So
Yeah,
thank you so much
yeah,
for
thank
coming.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thanks.
very much. Okay.
Resolution number 19-9492, in the matter of approving purchase orders, then announced certificates and payments of warrants in batch numbers CMA PR 0522, memo transfers and batch numbers MTA PR 0522, and procurement card payments and batch numbers PCA PR 0522.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion vote.
Vote on motion 19-492. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-493, in the matter of approving travel expense requests.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion vote.
Vote on motion 19-493. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-494, in the matter of a new liquor license request from Allure Nail Salon LLC, and forwarding to the Ohio Division of Liquor Control with no objections and no request for a hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 19-494. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-495, in the matter of a new liquor license request from FFC Eatery 1203 LLC and forwarding to the Ohio Division of Liquor Control with no objections and no request for a hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 19-495. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-496, in the matter of approving the contract between the Delaware County Board of Commissioners, the Delaware County Sheriff's Office, and padded services by B&E for the installation of a padded cell at the Delaware County Jail.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Jeff Balzer, Chief Deputy with the Sheriff's Office. This would be our second padded cell at the jail. Right now, we have one in our booking area, which has been very useful. Oftentimes, we're having people coming in that are in a mental health crisis or under the influence of substance abuse, and that's a way we can keep them safe until they're properly treated. We have discussed this, and we feel there's real value in having at least one more. This would be in our men's housing area. We don't want to put any more in our booking area because we have such a need for the space in the booking area for people coming in. But this would be in our men's housing unit, again, for people who are experiencing a crisis, and we need to keep them safe. And this was part of our budget request for last year, or for this year.
What's the timeline for this, Chief?
They, I think by the time we notify them that the contract's been approved, probably within about 3 or 4 months, they'll be here. It's an interesting process. There's one employee comes over and does it. He is here for probably 3 or 4 weeks and works on it and gets it completed. So I would expect probably within the next 3 or 4 months it'd be done.
Okay.
Okay, vote.
Vote on motion 19-496. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-497, in the matter of approving a First Amendment to the contract for services between the Delaware County Board of Commissioners, the Delaware County Sheriff, and Lexipol LLC for consulting services and software regarding office policies.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Good morning, Commissioners. Again, Jeff Balzer with the Sheriff's Office. With me today is our accreditation manager, Kelsey Evans. Lexipol is a company that has up-to-date, legally defensible policies for law enforcement agencies. One of the reasons we've moved towards Lexipol is we had a group that was working on our policies trying to update them because some of our policies were very old. We were not getting anywhere. It would take 2 or 3 sessions for us to finalize one policy. We were able to bring in Lexipol. They've got policies that are all set that have been used all across the country by law enforcement agencies. They also help us go towards one of our goals of becoming accredited. So there's 2 different parts of this. The $16,721 is for the law enforcement policy subscription. That's our ongoing cost for the annual policies from Lexipol. They not only provide us any legal updates, but they also provide training, too, on the policies. It's something we can have our deputies either on a daily, weekly basis. They'll send out questions and updates on the policies to make sure they're familiar with them and also the best practices. The second part of this contract has to do with our what they call as custody, which I'll call our jail policies. Our jail policies are decent, but again, we want to move towards accreditation. Lexipol has set the standard in this area. So right now, we're in the beginning phase for this. Kelsey meets every week with Sergeant Nick Carafa from our jail, and they work with the folks from Lexipol to create these policies that not only have the best practices from throughout the country, but also incorporate the standards that are necessary for Ohio. So all these are going to help us towards our goals of becoming accredited both for the law enforcement side and for the jail. And these are part of our budget request too.
Okay, vote.
Vote on motion 19-497. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Thank you.
Oh, and I want to thank you, Chief, for your help on providing security for our ditch viewings and ditch hearings. So, thank you.
You're very welcome, and we'll discuss before then. We'll make sure everything is nice and safe and secure for everyone to be
Okay.
present.
Thank you. Thank
thank
you
you.
so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Resolution number 19-498, in the matter of approving an agreement between the Delaware County Board of Commissioners and Granite Telecommunications LLC for the telecommunications services for Delaware County.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Good morning, John Melvin, Director of Facilities. The telephone service we're looking at with this particular contract is just for the analog phone lines that we primarily use for alarm lines, elevator, emergency call boxes. Granite Communications is basically a reseller telecommunications service, and their proposal, they're estimating to save annually about $1,800 on about 20 of these lines that we're looking at.
Okay.
So how much is the contract then? I
Estimated annual about $8,000.
Okay. It didn't seem like it would be a big.
It's not a big contract, and really and according to them, there's no contract, but we have to sign some paperwork to be able to enter into it.
Yeah, it's a big paperwork job, but not a big dollar.
Exactly.
So, okay.
Okay. Yeah, it is big. I know. Vote.
Vote on motion 19-498. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Thank you, Jen.
And on page 276.
Thank you. Here we go.
Resolution number 19-499, in the matter of approving the sanitary sewer subdividers agreement for North Star Section 1, Phase B.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion.
Morning, Commissioners. Tiffany Mag, Director of Environmental Services. This is a standard sewer subdividers agreement for a new phase in North Star. There's 52 lots. It's located on Galena Road, just south of Wilson Road. We request your approval.
All right, vote.
Vote on motion 19-499. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-500, in the matter of approving community enhancement grants.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Brad Lutz, Director of Business Operations and Financial Management. I'm not one for being short on words, so I want to take a few moments here and say a few things about this program, just for clarification. Obviously, this is not something that you as commissioners have to do for the community. I would venture to say that this is not something done by a majority of counties. To take on the time and effort and transfer some monies from the general fund to these nonprofits in the communities. This is something you should be celebrated for, and I certainly hope that the community appreciates you guys doing this. This adds a tough decision for you to make about who is deserving of these funds, and like I said, that's not a decision that you have to make. So for you to do that, you should be commended, and I personally thank you for doing this, and it's an honor to be a part of this program. I also want to take a moment to thank the staff personally for the work that they did on this. Sarah, Jen, and Karen all worked very hard to obviously put together the background of the program, put together the documentation that was ultimately presented to you, arranged those meetings, and I believe we did something a little bit different this year. We all met together and discussed a potential way to distribute the awards as a starting off point for the discussions that we ultimately had with you to get to this point that we're at today. So like I said, just wanted to thank each and one of them personally, and had to drag Karen away from her desk, get her in here, make sure that everyone wanted her here for this as well. But what's before you is obviously what has been discussed, and I believe represents a very good distribution of awards to the community, and certainly would hand it off to you to see if there's anything you want to comment on with these.
Right. Thank you very much, Brad, and for your work on this, too.
I just carried it across the finish line, so.
Well, thank you. And to everyone, we'll pass go ahead and vote.
Vote on motion 19-500. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-501, in the matter of approving community enhancement grant.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion.
The reason for this one is for an abstention, so obviously feel free to move forward with this one.
Yeah, let's see, on this one, Eric, then I am recusing myself on these, so I shouldn't vote on them. Okay. We'll take a vote.
Vote on motion 19-501. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis will abstain. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Resolution number 19-502, in the matter of approving a supplemental appropriation for leased vehicles and a transfer of appropriation for the engineer's office.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
So the first part of this regarding the leased vehicles is related to the enterprise program. We obviously completed the budget process before we finalized the enterprise process. So we effectively, as of budget, knew that there would be some money spent on vehicles, but we hadn't finalized where those monies would come out of. And then once the program was finalized, the vehicles were assigned to various departments, then it was important to apply those monies directly to those departments as an operational expense to allow for proper tracking going forward. So in effect, you had a significant amount of money initially budgeted in the capital fund going into the 2019 budget cycle for the purchase of vehicles. We removed that money from the capital budget with the anticipation of those monies ultimately being used for leased vehicles. So that's what we're doing today, is transferring and appropriating those monies for that purpose. This is all under one resolution, correct? Yes. Okay. So then the second one regarding the Roads and Bridges project, this is what was part of what's been budgeted to be transferred from the cash transfers into road and bridge road construction projects. So nothing out of the ordinary there, given the amount of money spent on road projects in this county.
Okay, vote.
Vote on motion 19-502. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Brings us to administrator reports.
I just wanted to give a shout out to Jane Hawes and Marissa Stith for organizing the ice cream social last week. I think that that was a really neat event, allowing employees to walk through the old courthouse to see the sites before it's closed down for the renovation. And tomorrow with their organization, also Food Truck Friday.
Oh, my
So
gosh.
we'll have the food truck
Yeah.
set up between the new courthouse and the Hayes Building for employees for lunch.
Oh, that's great.
How many people went through, would you say? Jane, you have any idea?
Do you have a guess?
Oh, really?
Based on how much we had.
How much ice cream disappeared?
The ice cream was left over with some of our EMS, sheriff's, the jail, 911, a few others, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
Employees really seem to appreciate the opportunity.
Yes.
So it's nice.
Yeah, it is a neat building, neat old building, and it's going to change dramatically on the inside, so
Right.
it's good.
And before we start, if anybody else has any other comments on community enhancement grants too, but Commissioner Benton, to you first.
Do you want to cover community enhancement grants now, or do you want to wait?
No, I was just going to say, just as far
As
as,
part of
oh,
our
yeah,
comments?
yeah, just part of comments,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, yeah, I'll cover the community enhancement grants first. These organizations that apply put a lot of work into it. They do great community work, and it's just a real privilege for the county to be able to help them. They're all doing good work, and we're able to help them. We structure it so that we aren't subsidizing payroll. You know, we're helping them do projects, do infrastructure programs, specific programs, and so on. So it just is, these organizations do great stuff, and they're largely volunteer organizations. And so to be able to help them is a really good thing for the county. So again, very, very happy to do that. It's always a little tough because inevitably the asks end up being more than what we have available. So we do have to make some choices, and I wish we could do everything, all the requests, but we just can't. And so we do the best we can and help everyone that we can. So again, good work. Thanks to Brad and the team for spearheading that and getting it through the process. Morp City Northeast Regional, William Murdoch mentioned that. That was very interesting. There were probably 25, 30 people there. From multiple counties, not just Delaware County, mostly Delaware County, but Knox, Morrow, and Franklin. So it was very well attended. Got the COYC annual meeting this afternoon. Legislative update tomorrow afternoon. Saw in the dispatch that unemployment in Delaware County was at 2.3% in April. And they said that's as low as it can go, which I think is probably lower than it probably should be. But anyway, just thought I'd mention that. And it's a tough labor market, as we all know. But that just confirms it. So, anyway, that's all I got.
Commissioner Merrill?
I only have one thing. I was, because most of the stuff's been covered, and again, I will make this statement before I talk about the Board of Elections. The community grants is always a challenge trying to decide what's reasonable, what's fair, and fair is an elusive term because these are all good organizations trying to do good work. And we as commissioners, I know, take this very seriously and try to reward and help those organizations that we think can benefit, but it's always tough. And I think the beautiful thing about our county is we have so many organizations trying to do good things, and that's what makes us such a great county. With that, online this morning I was reading about Senate Bill 22, which is the bill that would allow the Board of Elections to have the ability to have some flexibility in poll workers. And I think I talked a little bit about this, but since the negative people spoke yesterday, it kind of hit a nerve with me. So I did send a text to Senator Brenner this morning reconfirming my perspective on it. And I'll read that text, and that kind of leads into Senator Brenner. I just read the statements from those opposed to poll reduction bill. These people, in many cases, may never have worked an election. Providing flexibility with those counties with poll pads is reasonable. Also, those wanting to add split shifts as a way to get more poll workers is dangerous. That was something that the people opposed to it were suggesting. For consistency, those opening the polls should close the polls. Another issue, changing Columbus Day to Election Day is another effort to change history, in my opinion. In summary, these with poll pads, this is a good thing. This has nothing to do with voter suppression, everything to do with fiscal responsibility. Several senators, representatives spoke on the topic, and I'll talk a little, having worked the polls, and the poll place I work has 7 precincts, therefore we have 7 tables. And you have a Republican and a Democrat at each table, plus all the other staff. We probably had 30 employees, at least for that day, working for the voting process. And in the last election, we could easily done with 60% of that number. And those are dollars that literally are wasted. We have poll pads in our county, many of the other counties do. Those who have poll pads, this is a much more efficient, much more automated process, and you can get the voters through much more quickly. The Senate Bill 22 is an effort to try to address that issue in those areas where poll pads exist. Representative David Greenspan spoke regarding the split shifts. I alluded a little bit to it in my text there, but having worked the polls, all you're going to do is, one, you have to have overlap between those leaving and those coming in so you can communicate. Those who open the polls need to close the polls, because otherwise you're going to lose something in the translation. And my view is, shared by I think others in the Board of Election here in Delaware County, is it's only going to lengthen the time to get the votes to the poll, to the Board of Elections for the count. I think it's a very bad idea and does nothing to help the process. The theory of it is, in counties where you have difficulty getting people to the precincts to work as poll workers, by splitting it, somebody might be able to work half a day. If you address the bill and eliminate poll workers that aren't really needed, that can also address the bill, and I think a much more economical, much more fiscally responsible process. So I know we'll be at the legislative meeting tomorrow, and I will be there, but I will be there late, and something we need to reinforce that this is good for our county. We have, and I've said this in the past, we have a very, very good Board of Elections in our county. So my observations are due to what I know about our Board of Elections. So I really don't want to generalize too much to the rest of the state, but I have to trust and believe that they are similar and close to the same quality. We're always going to be prejudiced towards our Board of Elections. But I just thought I would take a couple moments and share those concerns. And if you were to hear something, then maybe convey or communicate, I think, because it does, in the presidential elections, always brought up as the exception. If the Board of Elections has the ability to be able to bring in more poll workers for that election, that's fine, but they should not be required to bring it in for every election, just to address the exception. So anyway, that's my thoughts. I have pretty strong feelings on the topic. Again, having worked the last election, seeing how little there was to do, seeing approximately 30 people want to do more, but you can only vote one time, and you can only do what comes through the door. And I think it's unfair to the poll workers. I think we're there to work and represent this county. I guarantee the voters who come in and see that, think, what are we doing? Why are we wasting our tax dollars? And we are, in fact, wasting our tax dollars. So with that, I will get off my
That's
podium and
Senate Bill 22.
Senate Bill 22.
Okay.
And would you explain poll pad, just so
About 4 years ago, we went to an automated process. So before that, you had to go through all this paper to find, and then you may remember back in the old days, you have to find it, and you have to sign, and so, but now you literally use your driver's license, you put it in there, your name pops up, and you can do in seconds what it used to take you maybe 25, 30 seconds to do, and multiply that times all the voters that come in. They're exceptional, they work extremely well, and because of that, and because now you can go, used to you have to go, because you had all this printed material, you had to go to a certain table because that's where your precinct was represented. Now with the poll pads, my precinct, for example, is with 6 others in PAL. You can go to any one of the 7 tables now. So there's no reason to have a line at one and nobody at another. You're going to go to the table where there's no line. So really, those 7 precincts that are represented by each table, really, you can go to any of them now.
Right.
So it's a much more automated, much more efficient process. So that's the reason where there are poll pads,
Right.
there's no reason this should not be passed. So,
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. We had some international visitors from Nepal, Pakistan, and India last Friday, and thanks to those people who attended, George Kaitza was there, Bob Lamb was there, and our newly elected judge-to-be, Kyle Rohr, was there, and trying to think, there were a few other people there, but Senator Brenner's office hosts these guests, and they came, and it was a lively discussion. Actually, they said it was the most lively discussion that had ever taken place with this group. But we talked about it was very interesting because you had what you call bureaucrats. And very, very powerful. Bureaucrats are more powerful even than they are in the U.S. in both India and Pakistan. And so you had an elected official, and then you had the bureaucrat from the same country. So they were going back and forth on, well, you know, this, and, you know, we really, you know, kind of like the one has more power than the other. And it wasn't the cross country, it was within the country that they had these great discussions. And so we talked about our form of government in general, and then how it works, that we are part of the local government. Also, Lisa Knapp was there, trustee from Orange Township. So she talked about the responsibilities of a trustee. I talked about commissioners and George Kaitza, of course, the auditor's office, but then the county in general. So it was a great discussion, and we are going to have some more guests in October. Allison Lawler is a really great gal. She is Senator Brenner's top aide, and so she said, we love coming to Delaware County. It's always, everybody has a good time up here, so we'll look forward to hosting them again in October. And
Same group or different group?
I believe this will be a different group, yeah. And we had done this once before, as you know. I was at the Bridges Community Action Partnership meeting last night. The main announcement there was Rochelle who is the executive director, is resigning at the end of the year. She's been there since 2010 and really has turned around Bridges. And so now they are fiscally solvent. Before they were bankrupt. And she has added a lot of counties also to Community Action. They call it Bridges Community Action. So with the 6 counties, and they felt changing the name Bridges from poverty was more indicative of just community action. So it was also mentioned that, and we were talking about it's difficult with the low employment rate, not only in Delaware County, but in some of these other counties, although the other counties, some of these other 6 counties that belong to this group with us have higher unemployment rates. But she said, in particular, it has been tough to find weatherization workers because I believe she said they only are paid $14 a week versus if they go to a landscaping company, they can earn a lot more. So they're, I guess that's pretty much a universal problem. She also mentioned 78% of the people that they have served can stay in their homes as a result of the services provided. These people are largely elderly people. So again, that saves money for them and maybe even more importantly, just the ability to stay in their own homes. So that's it for me, and we have need for executive session.
Monday is Memorial Day.
Oh,
I wanna
gosh, yes,
mention
please.
That's a day, may I comment?
Yes.
That's a day, take a moment, think about what that day really means.
Yes.
It's more than just a day off, and it's easy to forget that in the
Yes,
scheme of things.
absolutely.
But
And we have several events on Memorial Day, too. Thank you for mentioning that, definitely. Okay,
Resolution number 19-503, in the matter of adjourning into executive session for consideration of employment, promotion, compensation of a public employee or public official.
So moved.
second.
discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 19-503. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
We're now recessed into executive session. All right,
We'll reconvene our meeting. And we have a resolution to take action on. Resolution number 19-505, in the matter of adopting residency requirements for certain county employees in accordance with RC 9.481.
So moved. Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 19-505. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Great. We are now adjourned.
All right.
He was going to comment on it.